Hey, welcome back to Outside the Lab, episode 15, powered by Under Armour. Today we got a good friend, great coach, Todd Interdonato. Todd, thanks for joining us, man.
So happy to be here. Just good talking to you, Bert. No matter what we're doing, it's always good talking to you.
Good deal, man. Hey, this is going to be informal. I want to get a lot of information to the listeners out here, and go from there. A little bit of background: 13 years as the head coach at Wofford. He's the career. He's the winningest coach at Wofford with 323 wins. Back-to-back 36 win seasons. We're 14-3 this year before Corona got us. He's from Arizona. He's actually in Arizona right now talking to us, but played 2 years at South Mountain Community College in Phoenix. Played 2 years at Asheville. That's where he kind of took me under his wing as a senior, and I was a freshman. He coached at UNCA, Gardner-Webb, Fort Scott Community College in Kansas, and then 2 years as an assistant at Watford, and then got the head job, man. And I remember fondly, man, you got me into the Alaskan Baseball League when you were coaching at Asheville, and that was awesome, man. So number 29 on the field, number one in my heart, Todd Interdonato, man. Let's go right into it, dude. You're the big base stealing guru, and you've taught at the ABCA on the main stage. You've talked and done a lot of clinics, man. Why the passion for that, man?
Well, it really started, like if you sit around and you get your ass beat long enough, like we did for the first few years I was our head coach, you try to start digging into where you can find an advantage. And, it's kind of hard to manipulate an advantage on the mound, right? Like it's kind of hard to create an advantage that's not there, standing there trying to hit. And, I've always kind of had a passion for it. Started a long time ago, even back in high school when I was playing in high school and in junior college, and then at Asheville, always kind of had a passion for it. I think it was more like a longing for something I couldn't do. Like I wasn't very fast, so like I was always jealous of guys who could run. And then really we just got into it, as we were early, kind of early in our career as a coaching staff together. We always were kind of aggressive, and then really going into the 2013 season. Me and the assistant, who's still with us at the time, who was with us then, he's still with us now, JJ Edwards. We just kind of had a conversation over the summer, and we just said, hey, man, we feel like this is one area that we can kind of create an advantage, kind of circumvent the system, kind of manipulate the game a little bit. It's really the one area between pitching, defense, offense, and base running. It's really the one area that you feel like you can control the most, right? Like it is the most controllable aspect. And man, we were just looking for any advantage we could get. We were looking to beat somebody in any facet, just trying to start to turn the corner. And so Jay and I just kind of made the decision that summer in which was the 2012 summer. We just kind of made the decision that we were going to invest a lot of time in base running. And so, we just kind of just started doing it, 30 to 45 minutes a day the whole year. And essentially, that year in 2013, I think we ended up stealing like 163 bases. And all of a sudden it was just this thing. And then it just kind of evolved. And then, now it is what it is. But that was really the origin of it, was just trying to find a way to create an advantage.
Right. A couple things with that. I remember, obviously we talked a lot, but I remember one time you said, if they can play Wofford, if somebody's preparing for us on a weekend and we're playing Wofford, and somehow we make them focus on something they're not comfortable with. And usually, it's just a midweek or, during the week, you're trying to get your BP, feel good. But all of a sudden now, they're going to have to tell their pitchers, hey, you got to be quick to the plate. Hey, third baseman, you better play way in. Hey, watch this, watch that. And I remember you telling me that, and that's always stuck to me.
Yeah, I think anytime you can, it's no different than like, you go look at somebody who runs the option in football. I would assume that people don't really like that week of practice leading up to prepping for the option. Like at Wofford, it's kind of ironic saying that, but like, we've run the triple option every year I've been there. And I just can't imagine when Furman preps or Sanford preps for us in football, I can't imagine that's a good week of practice for them. And so it's kind of the same thought process. Like if you could just get somebody uncomfortable and thinking about something else, that really did it. And really the comment that got me was when Pulowski was, he was at CSC for so long when we were in the same league, and they were just beating our brains in every year. and then he took the job at Auburn, and we ended up playing them midweek in 2013. And we had a good game with them. I think they beat us like 8-5 or something. I'd have to go back and check the box score, but it was a competitive game. And after the game, we're shaking hands and we're kind of catching up on things. And he just said, man, he goes, I can tell you guys are headed in the right direction because now you have given me something to worry about. We're like, when we used to go play Wofford, there wasn't like one thing. It was a couple players here or there. Hey, you got to watch out for this guy. Or you got to watch out for that guy. But now you're giving us like a theme that we have to worry about. He goes, man, that's a big deal. And so that comment came from JP to me. And then that's probably why, you and I talked about it, because that comment from him always stuck with me, is that, now we're giving somebody something to think about.
Right. And then, on top of that, all of a sudden you give somebody something to think about, you change everything up, and all of a sudden, you put some pressure, errors, you get a couple easy runs. Guys are worried about playing in. All of a sudden you hit one past them, and then all of a sudden pitchers leave balls, right down the middle, and then all of a sudden you're hitting home runs, doubles, all that kind of stuff. So I think, a big thing is, especially for our young guys and parents listening, is there's more than one way, and it overall last few years.
Yeah, I remember we were playing at Gardner-Webb. I can't remember what year this was. Maybe it was like 2015 or 2016. And we had like a really tight game with them. It was, I want to say maybe it even went to extras. It was at Gardner-Webb. And we're sitting there, and we got a runner on first base, and maybe it was top 9 or something. Like I said, it was tight. And I know the kid's not going to steal. Like, I know he's not going to steal. I know whatever. Pick over, and then all of a sudden they try to back pick, doesn't work. They try to back pick again, and the catcher throws it into right. We end up going first to third, end up driving that run, and just the threat of it, kind of helped us win that game, even though we didn't steal a base in that particular situation. Just the threat of it, and again, giving them something to worry about, helped us score a run there.
And I really like the freedom too. A lot of times, especially early in kids' career, coaches really try to, they're not able to use all their athleticism. They're afraid to get off the bases. They're not comfortable on the bases, all that kind of stuff. And when we talked, and I changed my philosophy a little bit at Mars Hill, they should.
Yeah, I think, really, I think the reason that players are uncomfortable is because they don't really understand the game like an adult does, right? Like, this is kind of crazy, man. But I mean, I've been in college baseball now for almost 25 years, and, between playing and coaching, and I'm not that smart of a dude, man. Like, I don't, but after 25 years, you look at a guy and you think he should, see the game the same way that you do. That's crazy. You think that a 19-year-old freshman should be able to see the game as somebody who's seen it for 25 years. And so, I think their level of uncomfort or discomfort comes from the fact they just don't really know what they're looking for. They don't really know what they should be seeing and where they can do it. And so for us, it's about, Bert, like you and I talked about, man, it's about like giving them the information. It's about allowing them to read it. It's about teaching them, hey, man, what to see. And the more you can kind of teach those guys, basically paint the picture of what's going on and point out some things and give them some things to focus on, the more comfortable they get. It's no different. The more you know about any subject, the more comfortable you get in it. It's no different. And so, I think a lot of that reservation and hesitation from players comes from the fact that they're just not comfortable in the game. And if you can teach them some little things here or there, I think it frees them up. And like you said, takes advantage of their athleticism and just gives them a little more space and a little more freedom.
Right, and it gives them ownership too, and that's what we're trying to teach at a younger age, man. A little bit of ownership, whether it's in a classroom, weight room, on the field, off the field. They own something.
That's right. And once in any circle of life, man, once people feel ownership, it's a whole different world.
Right, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about recruiting part, specifically with you guys. Everybody's different. Every coach is different. Specifically, what positionally, what are you looking for in general? What do guys have to be? Athletes? They got to be bangers? Like what are we looking for?
I think the big thing for us is athleticism and character. those are the two things that, we really feel like we try to focus on. And, the one I had a conversation with a friend of mine not too long ago, and he said, where do you feel like you guys have done well in recruiting? Where do you feel like you've gone well? Where do you feel like that you've done some things? And I said, man, the thing I feel like that we have done well in recruiting in the last few years is we have stuck to our guns on guys that are good fits for us. And then we have also valued execution over potential in pitchers. So, I was actually talking to my wife earlier today, and she's asking me about a player, and I go, everybody likes to dream, right? And I'll talk about the pitching side of it first. Everybody likes to dream, oh man, he's 6'3", and he's long, and he's got big hands, and he's got potential, and man, I really feel like he's going to be able to throw harder, and if we can teach him this, teach him that. And there's a lot of value in that. But, we've kind of changed our philosophy in the last, 5-6 years, and through that, with two different pitching coaches, right? We had Jason Burke and now Seth. And it wasn't necessarily a change in the coach, which certainly, everybody has their own personality, but it's okay, man, let's go for the execution side of this. Let's make sure guys can throw a high percentage of strikes. Let's make sure guys can, really ready to pitch their freshman year. And so, the two examples I'll give are the guys in the same class. We recruited a kid named Luke Leftwich out of Phoenix, who was that potential guy, right? He's 6'3", 6'4". His dad pitched in the big leagues, long arm, looked like he was going to throw harder. And then we also recruited a kid named Matt Milburn out of Dallas, Texas in the same year. And Matt was, he was turnkey ready, right? Like he was a strike thrower. He had an off-speed pitch. He was ready to go, man. And then Luke was more of the project. Well, both those guys are now playing professionally. Okay, they've done it two different ways. Luke was a 7th rounder as a junior. Matt was a 28th rounder, I think, as a senior. They're both in AA, on the verge of it. But Matt was ready to go from the time he walked in the door. And Luke was, took some time. He took some seasoning, he took some experience. And so for us, now I'm not saying Luke wasn't a good sign, because he certainly was. And you're always going to get a mix of those guys. But I think we have relied more heavily on the turnkey ready pitchers as opposed to the potential filled pitchers. So that's really been a big difference. So we feel like we're getting, kind of a longer run and a longer use out of guys, and Jason used to say, man, you can value pitchers in two different ways. You can value them about, how much can they contribute to you over the course of 4 years, or what can they peak at? And I will tell you, over the last 4, 5, 6 years, we've weighted more towards how much can they contribute for 4 straight years, as opposed to, can we create this really dominant pitcher? And then kind of flip into the position player side of it, going back to sticking to our guns, it's, we've got to have athletes. It kind of fits, we do play a certain type of baseball. We do play a certain brand of baseball. And there's a certain type of player that fits in that, a little bit better. And so for us, it's, we know who we are, man. We're a high academic mid-major, that's fighting for conference championships and fighting for an at-large bid as a mid-major. And so we can recruit some really good players, but sometimes we have to pass on guys that are tempting because they don't really quite fit us, and there's been a handful of guys in the last few years. You're like, God, man, that guy's a good player, but like, he's not quite our type of player. And then boom, the next thing he's committing to a really good program. And you're like, oh, like, did I miss? But that's the thing that we've done really well. And JJ's just really good at that. It just kind of sticking to our guns. But then also it's the flip side of it. We may value somebody because they fit our system that nobody else values. I remember watching, a kid who's a freshman for us now. So whenever it was, 2 years ago, we're on the hunt looking for a catcher. This catcher's good. This catcher's good. This catcher's good. And I'm running around Georgia and, looking at these catchers. I'm like, oh, God, he's a good player, but maybe not ours. Oh, God. And then all of a sudden, I just randomly see this kid playing, and I'm like, that's him. That's our guy. That's our guy. And we start talking to his coach. I'm like, who's recruiting him? He's like, man, like, not really anybody. I'm like, that's our guy. Like, that's our fit. That's our guy. And so it can kind of go the other way too, right? Like, you just have to kind of believe your eyes. And, we recruited that kid. He was, kind of deciding whether he was going to play football, whether he was going to play baseball, what was he going to do? Where was he at? And for us, like, we just valued this kid like incredibly high. and maybe he was undervalued by some other, but he fit us, and he's a freshman with us. He just finished his freshman year, and man, he's been really good for us, and he's going to have a really good career. So it can go the other way too, right? Like you just got to kind of believe in your system, stick to your guns, and trust your eyes.
Right. Go a little bit. That's a good detail right there. You said it's got to fit you. It's got to be, you guys are unique, all that kind of stuff. I've always, whenever I go onto your campus, enjoyed campus, just a different feel for it when you get to. I know you guys have made a trip or two out of country. Tell me a little bit about that as far as, off the field part of it. You know what I mean? It's just not, baseball, baseball, baseball. Obviously there it's academics, probably number one and number 1B, 1A and 1B. But tell me a little bit about that and how you guys kind of got that set up.
So Wofford is, as you said, Bert, like, real high academic school. And we have always, in my career there, in the 15 years I've been there, we have always been one of the top universities or colleges who have students earn credit by traveling abroad. That's a big part of Wofford. Okay. It's just a big part of our infrastructure. It's a big part of our campus culture that a lot of people do it. Okay. And so, baseball players really, you hear that as a baseball player, you're like, oh, well, that's not for me. I'm a baseball player. And almost as like an athlete, you kind of just discount that, right? Like, I can't do that. I'm committed to my sport, whatever. And so my wife works for Michelin Tire, and she travels abroad a good bit. And, after her and I got married, her and I took a trip internationally. It was my first international trip. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man, this is amazing. And, she's always talked about it, and she still travels internationally. And I just kind of got to thinking, just with, my experience of it in 2013. And, I come back and I kind of have in the back of my mind, and, I'm like, okay, how can we get our players to really be a true Wofford student, right? Like, we just don't want them to be a baseball player. We really want them to be a part of the campus culture. We only have 1,800 students. And so it's like, how do you blend them in? And so that was the easiest thing to think of, was the travel abroad. And so we took an English professor on a bus trip, a midweek trip. And we start to get to talking about it. He goes, you could do interim. And so interim, for those people that don't know what interim is, we have one class in the month of January. Every Wofford student, it's mandated by the college. You have to have 4 interims to graduate from Wofford. Well, it's a month-long class, and a lot of people use it for internships, very unique class experiences, but also people use to travel abroad. And so me and this professor, we were like, man, if we could just do the month, maybe we do, 2.5 weeks here, a week and a half abroad, let's try to figure it out. This was back in 2013. Well, long story short, a lot of work. We ended up creating an interim in January of 2016, where we took our entire team 10 or 11 days through Italy. We went to Rome, Naples, Pompeii, Bologna, Venice. And man, we did everything. We saw the Pope speak. We saw the Sistine Chapel. We saw the Statue of David, the streets of Venice, Pompeii, everything. And it was just this incredible. I mean, we got to see in St. Peter's Basilica, in the Scavi, they only, it's like some crazy number. It's like they average like 80,000, visits a day, and they only give 200 tickets away to go see St. Peter's tomb. Well, we landed some of those 200 tickets. Man, I saw St. Peter's tomb. Like, and it's one of the 2 places in the world I've ever been that I've just been speechless. The other one was Pearl Harbor. But like, you're walking down underneath St. Peter's Basilica, and you're staring at St. Peter's tomb, and you're in this, and you're just like, how did I get here? How is this possible? And then you watch your guys walk into it, and it's just like, guys are just mesmerized, walk around. So we did that in 2016. It was so powerful. It was such a great experience. It was, man, we got to do this every 4 years. And so then we got back to, okay, where do we go next? What do we want to do? So we kind of gave the 2020 seniors, kind of their, hey man, where do you want? We kind of gave them an opinion, and we ended up in Spain this January, 12 days in Spain. And it's the same thing, man. Madrid, Sevilla, Toledo, Cordoba. We went to, we're in Barcelona, and, we go to the Sagrada Familia. And if you've never seen the Sagrada Familia, man, you got to look it up. It's the most unbelievable building I've ever seen in my life. It's been under construction for 125 years, and it's got another X number of years to go. And I always like, when we go into these places, like, I always like to walk in first, because then I like to turn around and watch our players walk in, right? Like, and so you're standing in Sagrada Familia, and and they just walk in and it's just like, you know, they just, it's the most childish. It's like the most innocent child you've ever seen walking in. And, you know, it's, you know, you're walking the streets and you're eating different foods and you're speaking different languages and you're trying to navigate, you know, a bus where nobody speaks English and everybody's kind of lost together. And, but man, just, I mean, we got to see, you know, where the 92 Olympics were in Barcelona. I mean, we went through, you know, the Olympic Village, and it's just a once in a lifetime thing, you know, and it's just one of these things where it's just, and now like we come back and it's just this total unique experience. And so we just committed to doing it every 4 years. And so, you know, we'll do it again in 2024, and, you know, kind of the destination is yet to be determined, but it's one of the coolest things we do. And, you know, the baseball becomes secondary to that, right? Like everybody's like, oh, what are you going to do? Like, you know, are you worried about working out? Well, in 2016, man, we started 7-0 and beat Kentucky on opening day. Okay. And then this year, you know, we went to Spain and we started out 14-3 and had a top 15 win on the road. So like, you're going to be fine. Like the baseball is going to be fine. Like, yeah. You know, you just can't ever replicate. I mean, we saw Lionel Messi play. Like we you know, we went to an FC Barcelona match this year. We saw Lionel Messi play. Like they won 1-0 and Messi scored the goal. Like how do you replicate that, man? Like how do you ever, you know, recreate that experience? So it's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And that kind of separates you guys from other schools and what they're trying to do, and just that experience, man, that you bring. I mean, you're always the guy that can think outside the box, and obviously, you know, you guys were able to change the program, you know, a few years back. Man, some guys that aren't used to, you know, conference, Southern Conference, apparently not be too familiar with it. Give me a little bit about the conference.
I mean, obviously everybody thinks their conference is good, right? Like, you know, you stand up and you go toe to toe with these guys, man. You know, our conference is so underrated. It's so underrated. I mean, what do you want, man? You want 40, 45 win teams? We got that. You want teams that have first round draft picks? We got that, man. You want these teams that, you know, just parity up and down, that teams are really good. We got that too, man. And, you know, it's our league is just such a high level mid-major league. And, you know, it's the talent that comes out of our league. It's like, you know, you see these guys and you're like, you know, you're watching and, you know, all of a sudden, like I was watching a game last year, watching some random game, and, you know, you're watching Cincinnati play and you're like, oh, there's Phillip Ervin. Oh yeah. I remember playing against him when he was at Stanford. Oh, I wonder if, you know, oh no, he wasn't a late round pick. He was actually a supplemental round pick. He was a first round pick. Like, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, Kyle Lewis was the Golden Spikes Award winner and he was at Mercer. Like, and I remember our 6th rounder going up against their 1st rounder in 2016. And it's like, you know, you got 70 evaluators there, you know, watching him play and watching our guy throw out of the bullpen. And it's, you know, our guy's 94-96 with a big league breaking ball. And there's, you know, I think Kyle was like the 11th or 12th pick overall that year. And you're just like, yeah, like what else do you want, man? And so for us, you know, there's just been teams that have been so successful. And, you know, we've just been very fortunate to kind of get ourselves into that mix and to get ourselves into the, you know, the top echelon of that league. And, you know, in the last few years, we've been competing for conference championships, which is, you can't replace that, man. It's a really special feeling when you go through a year and the word championship is kind of in your locker room and it's in your dugout and it's, you know, and it means something, right? Like it's not an empty word anymore. It's okay. This is how you win a championship. This is how you win a championship. And it's kind of become part of our program in the last few years. And I feel really fortunate to be a part of that.
What do you got on the weight room, man? Maybe if you're speaking to a 15, 16-year-old kid right now, you know?
So the thing that we've talked about with our players is it's real simple. And Bert, man, you've always been really good at this. You know, where can we excel, right? Like instead of focusing what we can't do, what can we excel at? So like the conversations we've had with our players is, do I expect when we come out of this for your squat and your bench to be the best it's ever been? No, man, that's ridiculous. Like that'd be unrealistic. But I'll tell you what I do expect I do expect you to have the highest cardiovascular limit you've ever had. I do expect you to be the most mobile and the most flexible and the most stable you've ever been. Because so focus on, what you can accelerate at. So like one of the things that we've talked about with our strength and conditioning coach, and we've, had him on with our players and, doing stuff just like this is, okay, your workload capacity when you get back is going to be better than it's ever been. And that is going to lead to gains in the weight room. Yeah, we can't increase our squat right now, right? But we can increase our cardiovascular limit and our workload limit. So now we can really push ourselves in the weight room. And so to me, it's just a simple frame of mind, and it's just a simple mindset flip of, instead of what can't you do, what can you excel at right now? And I think it's just that simple of a question. And so for us, we've talked about workload capacity, flexibility, mobility, and stability. And we've given our guys a ton of programs with that. And I trust that those guys are killing it. I know they are because that's, I trust our players, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We here at Athletes Lab, we got about 30,000 square feet, and we got a big time weight room in there. It's a college weight room, just a little bit smaller. We got all the gadgets and all that kind of stuff. We got really good strength conditioning. Audra and Ryan are really good, and we're just trying to, during this time, I think, doing the similar stuff that you guys are doing. We're doing the the couple workouts a week with our guys. We're leading those type things, and just making sure that when we do get the go ahead, it's a couple weeks of practice, man, and we got to jump right back in it. What are your guys expecting to play this summer? Have you just told them just to come back ready in the fall? Like what are you kind of telling those guys right now, with, because a lot of kids do play collegiate summer ball?
Yeah, I think we're as committed to summer ball as you can possibly be. If you're healthy, you're playing in the summer. That's, because we talk about individual development all the time. And, if you could get another 40, 50 games in the summer. So for us, it's just kind of, case by case basis in terms of, this league got shut down. This league is still going, this league is up, this league is down. And so for us, we're just trying to take it individually. But the one thing that we've talked about is, when we get back to the fall, this is the way that we've talked about it, right? Like, we missed 40 games of our spring. Okay. We were 17 games into, whatever, however many games we're going to end up playing, 60 to 65. And then, then let's say, you lose your summer, you lose another 40 to 50. Okay. Well, we're down 100 games, man. Like, our guys are down 100 games, and that's learning, that's experience, that's mindset, that's confidence, that's everything that goes into playing, right? That you can't replicate. So how do you make up for that? So the one thing that we've talked about, is trying to inter squad as much as possible this fall. And so for us, it's, we want to make sure that we don't miss any innings of inter squad this fall. And so normally, in a normal circumstance, if we had a guy go out and say he was going to pitch 40 innings in a college summer league, and that took away 10 innings from him in the fall, sure, man, no problem. Well, in this circumstance, we need to make sure that guy can pitch every inning in the fall, because, our hitters need that inning. Our defenders need that inning. Our catchers need those innings. It's not just about their workload anymore. It's, do you want to prep a Wofford position player to be ready, or do you want to prep an opponent's position player to be ready?
Yeah.
And so, of course, the idea is you want to do both, right? Like you want to be able to do both. And so, we're just basically looking at it in terms of, hey, this league is up. These players are in that league. And I would assume the leagues that are up, trying to add a guy into that league, man, that's probably going to be really hard, right? Because, say 2/3 of the leagues get canceled and 1/3 of the leagues are still going. Like, well, all the other 2/3 of those leagues want to go jump into the third of leagues that are playing. So, like, we have an alumni who, does a phenomenal job in summer ball. Jesse Cole, who owns the Savannah Bananas, he's a Wofford grad, and, he's kind of been at the forefront of kind of leading the CPL. They're talking about doing July. And I mean, I consider Jesse a good friend of mine, man. Like, he's been to campus. We've been to see him, my wife, and, we've been to dinners and everything. But like, if I called Jesse and said, hey man, I need 3 guys on your team, like, I don't know how he could do that. Like, he's got to take the guys that he's already promised those spots to. So, right. For me, it's just case by case. And, we would feel fortunate, the guys that are in the leagues that are still up and running and planning on playing, we want those guys to go play. we want those guys to go play. And the guys that can't play, then we will figure out something. We will get creative, and we will make sure those guys maximize their fall experience, as we go into, so we can get ready for the 21 season.
Right. What kind of has anybody said you get more practice time, more games in the fall, or have you heard anything on that yet?
Not too much. I think, what everybody's just kind of waiting to see how this thing goes, right? Like, is there going to be on campus classes? Is, football going to go off on time? Is football going to be late? Is, how's this going to go? And so, I feel like our administration and our president and our cabinet, I've really enjoyed the way they've gone about this, because they've just kind of gone step by step. Hey, we don't think we can do summer one. So hey, we can't do summer one, but we're going to see if we can do summer two. So instead of saying summer one and summer two are online, they've just gone step by step, right? And I've just really enjoyed about the fact that our leadership has taken a patient approach and just gone step by step. So that's basically the mindset that we're in and that all of our players are in. And we're just kind of waiting on the next step.
Yeah, the leadership is going to be, crucial in it always is, but right now it's really going to be big over the next few months. No matter running a school, running a team, whatever minutes, but as far as what are we looking at defensively? Are you some schools go ahead recruiting class because you guys have always been good defensively?
So, I think certainly, the athleticism ties into that, right? And that was kind of a philosophical change that we made, a number of years ago. Kind of goes back to the beginning of the conversation with the base running. Is like, hey man, we can control how well we play defense, right? Like we can do that as long as we make it a priority. And so, for us, we kind of stopped trying to turn double plays and trying to make the spectacular plays. Like, man, just catch the ball. And the phrase that is stuck with us is just ball first. And I think anybody who has played against us probably gets sick of hearing that phrase out of the dugout, right? Like that phrase probably comes out of our dugout 200 times a game at least, from coaches. Hey, ball first here. And all that means is, man, let's just stick it. Let's just stick it and let's just take our out and, try to play a very conservative style of defense. And so for us, guys have to do that, right? Like, so like you go watch, if you watch a shortstop, you watch a shortstop that's like really flashy and he's really slick and you're like, oh man, that guy's really got some flair to him. Like, we kind of shy away from that guy. The guy that's willing to, stick his nose in a tough ground ball and all of a sudden it looks like he's going to get a tough hop. And instead of trying to pick it, he goes to a knee and chests it up. You're like, okay, that's our kind of guy. And so for us, it's, you got to be able to handle yourself defensively. The guy that, we go out and we watch a kid, you're like, man, that guy looks like he can really hit. That guy looks like he can really hit. Where does he play? We don't recruit that kid. You've got to be able to handle. So, I think, the age-old status of, stay in the middle of the field. I think we are, we're kind of on board with that. But at the same time, man, like we've recruited some corner outfielders and corner infielders because they fit our style, but they still have to be good defenders at those spots, right? Like, we had a kid that is a freshman this year. Every time we watch him play, he's either playing third or he's playing left. Well, in a traditional frame of mind, it's, he's not in the middle of the field, so, he's not athletic. But, like, we watched him play, man, and he played really tough. And he fit us, right? He was a good athlete. He was really tough. He played really tough. We liked his swing. He had some juice. And we're like, okay, he's a third baseman left fielder. So that's not a traditional athlete, so to speak. But he was athletic for those spots, but he was a good defender in both of those spots. So we felt like, he could be a really good corner defender, and he fits us. And man, he's been with us for a year, and we're ecstatic that we have him. But the big thing that we go back to that I think is worth sharing is, no matter where these guys are on the field, they have to be able to show they are willing to play tough. Aaron, like, you talk about, oh, he runs hard down the line. Like, okay, cool, man. Like, all right, awesome. Like, he runs hard down the line. Like, to me, that's a normal thing. Like that's just an expectation. But if a guy is willing to, like we go watch a pitcher and all of a sudden it's 3-0, 3-1, 3-2, is his fastball just as convicted 3-0 as it is 0-2. That tells me that kid's mentally tough, right? And all of a sudden, you watch a shortstop and, there's a bleeder with a runner on second and 2 outs. And instead of him trying to showcase how he can field a ground ball, he dives and keeps it in the infield and he saves the run. You're like, okay, those are the types of things defensively, that we are looking for. And, it's basically one of those things, man, where it's like you just kind of get these traits of the athleticism, the toughness, but to your point, man, they certainly have to show that they can defend their position well.
It shows on and off the field, but the toughness part, it shows up on and off the field, man.
It does, man. It does. And like, it's funny, like, these guys don't think there's correlations, right? Like, and you remember, man, like how much paperwork do these guys have to fill out in order just to play, right? Like how much, how much red tape they have to go through. But what I've noticed is like, there's a correlation between the guy that's taking care of his stuff off the field and a guy that I can trust on the field. And so like all of a sudden, you go through, like we're going through it right now, right? With our 20 signees. And I can tell you right now, the 20 signees, the guys that are taking care of their business and taking care of all this paperwork and red tape, I'm going to tell you, they're going to be the first guys that their teammates trust on the field. It's so crazy how that stuff is correlated, and nobody ever thinks of that.
That's exactly right. Agreed 100%. You just bought in, and a lot of it is the way they're raised and all that kind of stuff. I want to touch on a couple, a little bit more before we sign off here, Todd. When do you guys, it's 20 grads, they're just up or getting ready to finish up. What are you recruiting now? Like, are you in 21s, 22s, 23s, 24s? Everybody's different. Give the parents and players a little perspective on that.
The question I always ask parents is, they come in and back when the world was normal and we could do on-campus visits, we get that question a lot, and it's, hey, when should we commit? What is it? And the question I always ask them is, did you decide when to get married, or did you decide who you were going to marry? Right? Like, you always decide who you're going to marry. You don't say, oh, at 25, I'm getting married to whoever's standing next to me. Right? Like that, so for us in recruiting, it's the same way, right, man. It's the who, not the when. And so for us, I would say the bell curve, we're in the bell curve, we're finished with our 20 class, and then, we're primarily focused on the 21s. But man, I mean, there is some 20, there's some 22 activity in there. We have a 22 kid committed that's been committed to us for, almost 6-7 months. And it was just the right time, man. There was just connections between him and the college. And, we felt confident in him. And like, that wasn't a normal thing for us, to go actively recruit. He was, obviously a sophomore at the time, getting ready to go into his sophomore year. And that's not really the bell curve, but like, it was just the right fit, from his side, from his family side, from our side. And so, but I also tell people, some of the best players we've ever had at Wofford have been our latest signs, and so it's wild, man. Like, I was actually, one of the, I would say maybe our most productive hitter that we had last year and this year specifically combined. He was a junior college player, man. We signed him in like August. We had some unnatural attrition, 2 summers ago that we really weren't expecting. And it's like, okay, like, let's see if we can find a good player. And we signed this guy, and man, he's one of the best hitters I've ever coached. And so, but we also have those guys that are late bloomers, right? Like, you also have those guys that just show up and you're like, man, this is past the bell curve, but like, what am I missing here? And those guys turn out to be great players. So, there's certainly a bell curve of recruiting, but there's also the fit, right? And so I just kind of always go back to the analogy, you decide who you marry, not when you get married. And you decide, which school you're going to, not when you are going to decide you're going to that college.
everybody gets a lot of that. I really like that as far as the way everything is nowadays with pressure and that kind of stuff. Man, I really appreciate you coming on, Todd, man, and can't wait to get you up here when this stuff gets out of here and see you, and I'm sure we'll be down to visit as well. So I really appreciate you taking time. And any last words you want to give us?
I have to say one thing. I have to say one thing that I've just been been holding on to it. Okay, so I mentioned before, man, I've been in college baseball for almost 25 years, and I know that you're hands on, right? Like I know you, man. Like I know you're hands on, and I know you know how to teach this game, and you're so passionate. But for guys that are around you, and I still believe this, man, you are the best teammate I have ever seen in all of my years of college baseball. And so, when guys come to you and they learn from you and the pitching mechanics and the passion, I just think that being a good teammate is such a huge quality. And it's such a, we talk all the time, you can't succeed without the support of your teammates. Well, how do you gain the support of your teammates? You're a good teammate yourself. And if I could pick one guy to talk to anybody about how to be a good teammate, in all the players I've been around in 25 years of college baseball, I would pick Aaron Rembert. And I think people just need to know you are so special in that regard, man. And I've never forgotten that.
Hey, man, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking me under my wing, man, and back in the old college days, and always being that guy I can talk to and run stuff off of. Appreciate you, man. Can't wait to see you, and we'll talk to you soon.
I love you, Bert.